All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pages to Pixels. I'm Kevin, and I'm joined by our guest Max. And today we are talking about Survivor 50. Before we get started, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe as it helps out our channel and it helps us post a new video every week. With that out of the way, let's get started. Max, how are you doing today?
Kevin, I'm doing really well. It's been a rainy weekend for me over here in Toronto, but I've been really having a good time and enjoying my Sunday. How are you?
I'm doing just good. It's Memorial Day weekend over here, so we've got an extra day off tomorrow.
Yes,
Uh, Looking forward to that.
so much to celebrate.
Um, exactly, including Survivor 50, the end of Survivor, new era.
What a
uh,
shock.
quite a quite a crazy conundrum we have here, where Survivor 50 was in the hands of the fans, a season that is supposed to be designed totally by the fans at home voting. Do you feel like that actually came through in the season?
No, I don't think so at all, which to many people is disappointing. What I really think the show wanted was to have every episode show something off. So it couldn't just be the cast. It had to be that there was a twist, or there was a celebrity, or there was something flashy. And I think that was their way to pay homage to the fans. So I think, was it about the fans? Yes. But was it in the hands of the fans? I don't think so.
Well, yeah, because like a lot of the questions were very like loose interpretation. Like, oh, do you like twists? A twist heavy game or a complex game of strategy? It's like, how is that different? Like,
Or even worse, they would be very pointedly they'd have very pointed connotations, right? So, like, it would say, do you like an exciting, thrilling, fire making duel? Or do you want a boring, stale, regular vote? Like, that was the way that they framed some of these questions. So, I think there's a conversation and a question to be had about how legitimate are these results? Do you think that production came in looking to have a certain result win, or do you think that this is really just how it shook out and it really was 60-40 here, 65-35 there, etc.
they gave some live statistics, although I'm not sure all of them were given. I think for the most part, I do trust the production followed through, but I also think the pointed questions got their result as
Yes.
they wanted. Um, I think fire making was just won by the casuals. So I believe that fire making could win. It's what's been on TV for the
Hmm.
last few years, and there were a bunch of contrarian people who were like, "I'm gonna vote for fire to make Reddit mad" or whatever. It's like, why? Like, you're making the season worse.
Yeah, they were going to own the libs by voting for fire making.
Speaking of fire making, we did get the live reunion as a fan vote. And there was this big goof up that Jeff had in the 11th hour. What was going through your mind when that happened?
So I have to say, this is why live reunions are fun. Was it a mess up? Yes, but this is what we come here for. We come here for something that is a little off the script, a little off record, and something that gives us a moment. I think live reunions are full of moments. We got a lot of feedback just from viewers, from the fans and their hands, that a lot of people didn't seem to love this format, but we've seen this format many times. I mean, think back to Game Changers, right? When Sari got voted out at Final Six, Jeff pulled her out in the middle of the episode. I mean, we've had many reunions where we check in with the players as the episode goes on. So I liked the format, and it wasn't brand new. It wasn't breaking ground. And for me, the fire making spoil was just a really kind of fun hiccup that got people talking. And I think, honestly, it made it a lot more exciting of a finale than it would have been otherwise. What did you think?
It was funny because I thought when Rizzo came out, I Jeff didn't say anything about an elimination.
Yeah.
So I actually thought he was bringing out Jonathan shortly after and was like, one of these two guys is going to take that seat on the jury. We'll be right back with our sponsor,
Yeah.
Applebee's
Hmm.
or something crazy. And then he and then he just was like, "All right, Rizzo, take a seat. This is our jury." And they're like, "Jeff."
that was also interesting to me to see who would speak up first, because I'm sure you've been in this position before, Kevin, yourself. You're at work, you're at school, something is wrong, and you scan the room to say, am I going to have to be the one to say something? Am I the only one to notice that somebody made an error on the
For sure.
chalkboard or something's wrong? And I think it was Suri who spoke up the loudest and said something like,
Yeah.
we haven't done fire yet. And then you saw Jeff's face kind of flash. What do you make of the way that Jeff jumped back? He did the segment right after the commercial break. Did you like the way that he bounced back?
Yeah, I think he handled it very well. It also was not his fault, really. Like, it was a scheduling error. It wasn't a posting error.
Mm-hmm.
I remember someone in the one of the Survivor Discords that we're both in was like, "Do you not think that Jeff runs everything through a team?" I'm like, "Yeah, but like that was not intentional, obviously. They clearly had the segment planned out for after fire making, and they called it either too early on the call sheet or someone messed up in scheduling or they just sent out Jeff and Rizzo at the wrong time."
Yeah, I think Jeff did the best he could have done in that spot. And quite frankly, I think he also handled it with a lot of grace. I think when you make a mistake like that and it's at your job, I work long shifts at my job. I work in an office. And when I make a mistake, it can be humiliating. It can be really disappointing.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was able to so quickly bounce back, I thought showed a lot of his professionalism. And I think, we know Jeff wants that Emmy. We know Jeff is going for these moments. I think he's eager to show how he can be quick on his feet. He's even said, and he's gone on
Yeah.
record, he's proud of the fact that he doesn't even wear an earpiece when he's on Survivor. So he really is,
Hmm.
he's an improv guy for sure.
Jeff's a great host. People can lambast him for whatever production decision he wants. I mean, I want to be on the show. I'm not gonna shit talk Jeff on a podcast, but I think Jeff is wonderful because of moments like this. I mean, peek into the future. That's a really funny joke. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So
That was great.
we've got to talk about the finale result because I think that has been the talk of the town. Aubrey wins in a 7-2 or an 11 to sorry, an 8-3 vote
Correct.
against Jonathan and Joe.
Hmm. Yeah, this was a surprise to a lot of people. The biggest thing that surprised me was that I didn't feel like Aubrey was given the story of the season. I didn't even feel like she was in the top five. So I think her win really came full circle in the last episode, in the finale. I liked everything she was saying about Michelle and about how she lost and is going to win again. I think it's notable that in that final four, you had three people who had already, or sorry, two people who had already lost at the end in Joe and Aubrey. And Aubrey's story, I felt, really came through that she knew her mistakes and she was going to rectify them. But we didn't get that story until the very end. So I liked her as a winner, but I still felt like she really was maybe edited in such a way that was appropriate for her game. The players probably didn't
Hmm.
see her as a winner until the very end, and we didn't see her as a winner until the very end either.
Yeah. The I think part of this comes from her early beginnings being very awkward,
Yes.
to say the least. I mean, the audience did not get endeared to Aubrey. I was watching this season alongside my parents, and my mom had returned to the show after not watching since Tocantins,
Wow.
where she was so annoyed by Coach that she stopped watching the show. Yeah. And
And she
so she
came
was
back for a
telling me that
coach season.
I know, but she thought it was funny here, so but yeah, like my parents, they are much more casual viewers, and I noticed that my mom was saying she hates Aubrey, and I was like, okay, well, if my mom hates Aubrey, who I have come to love in the last 3 seasons she's been on, then clearly Aubrey's not winning. Why would they make such casual viewers like already against Aubrey in this feud with Genevieve, where her first confessional is literally just about how her and Genevieve don't get along. It's nothing to do with her Survivor legacy. It's nothing to do with what she did before her finding herself on the bottom of Edge Extinction and then finding herself on the bottom of the Purple Tribe. I think they didn't set Aubrey up well in this premiere.
They did not at all. You're absolutely right, and it makes me think about storytelling in general. A lot of times, you will have something happen in your life where you look back with hindsight and you go, that was a great story. Look at what I did in the last week, in the last month. Look at all this progress I've made over the last year. But you don't know when that starts, that you're about to embark on that journey. And I think it was the case with Aubrey, where I believe she went on record to say she was sick the first couple days. She really didn't like the people she was playing with. I don't even think she saw that story for herself. I mean, we're talking about a 26-day game. She only had a couple days in the beginning. I doubt that they even had those kind of confessionals to use. I don't even know if she was talking to the cameras that way yet. And then as the game went on, she began to see her own story and was able to narrate it. But one more thing with Aubrey, the stakes are also very high. I mean, you remember Ko Wrong. She was the narrator from day one, and she was giving those
Yeah.
confessionals from day one. So we expect more from Aubrey as a storyteller because we know what she could do, and she wasn't doing that. So that was also the surprise for me. We know her to be somebody who can lead the season in the confessional, and instead it was all these other huge characters, and we just didn't really see that side of her this season at all.
hmm I think I started to suspect that Aubrey was a winner contender or possibly just winning outright was when they gave her a very unnecessary scene with Jonathan at the hammock, and I was like, Aubrey and Jonathan, this is really weird. I know that everyone's got a lot of connections, but this feels like a final two
Yeah,
forming. Did you feel the same
I
way?
did, I did, but honestly, it was hard to tell because you'd have some Aubrey scenes. Remember when she spoke with Coach on the Swap Tribe? And that was a good 2 minute scene.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking to myself, this could be interesting. These are two players. How are they going to come together? Aubrey's going to work her way into this Coach alliance.
nothing.
She's going to do this, and then it never, and it didn't matter. So I couldn't tell if the Jonathan thing was going to matter. But what did matter, to your point, is that Aubrey mattered. That was the important thing. Was Aubrey? She's doing this. She's working it. And even when we thought that she didn't matter, the show is trying to convince us that she really did matter. And yeah, we didn't get that until episode 6 or 7. But the hammock also was in every episode.
hmm
Everybody was using that hammock and talking. It
Yeah,
was like you. Anybody who was important was in that hammock. I've never seen the hammock highlighted more on a Survivor season than 50.
that's the winner's hammock, and you need to remember it. It
When
reminded me of Rachel and Andy in the Hamilton
yes,
47, where he's like, I just can't beat you, Rachel. I'm sorry. This is
yes,
my game.
yes. So can we talk about? I know it's not the finale. Can we talk about that Aussie moment? That was one of the biggest moments of the season to me. It truly like people talk. Jeff loves this, right? The idea that you're yelling at your TV. Something happens on the show and you're like, I can't believe this. They got voted out. How did they win a challenge? How did they? That was the single most moment for me this season where I was yelling at my TV saying, how is this possible? And it's ultimately a huge part of how Aubrey wins. I mean, she would be going home
hmm
if Ozzy didn't have that conversation with her. I mean, how big was that the turning point of the season?
I think it was I think it when you put it in screenwriting terms, which I can't wait to get into
Yeah,
that,
please.
like in a reality TV setting. I think that was the climax of the
Mm,
season. It was a turning point. I feel like the midpoint of the season is around when Coach and Chrissy
mm-hmm.
go home, because or maybe even the Blood Moon because it's a bloodbath of great players going out. But the climax is like finally Ozzy goes home or he plays his idol.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of build up with it because people have been targeting him the last 3 episodes, and he goes and it's like easily the most betrayed. Like it's the biggest betrayal that happens in the season. So I do agree. I thought that vote off was was really like sad. Like it was very upsetting to see Ozzy go through so many emotions at once, and then you've got this cinematic shot of like Ozzy is looking at the tribe. He turns back to Jeff. Dude, that moment. I'm gonna quote Rizzo. Cinema.
Cinema. That was cinema.
And then there's the big what if, like what if he played it? Do you think that Suri, Rizzo, and Ozzy, the Sarizard of Oz, is able to run the game?
I don't think so, but I do think that Ozzy, Suri, and Tiffany could have done something. I think
Yeah.
Rizzo seems to me to be somebody who really likes smart people. Usually, everybody knows the kind of people that they're attracted to. I think Rizzo really likes people who are like, whatever they do, they're good at it. So if he's on Survivor, he
Hmm.
wants to work with good players. If he's working at his job, he wants to go to the best. And I think he does that knowing that they are the best and that there's going to have to be a time where he's going to vote them out. I think Rizzo is always going to find a way to vote out Ozzy and Suri. But Tiffany and Ozzy had a bond of both wanting to take Suri to the end. And I think if you get through that, if you're at Final Seven, if you can still vote out Rick Devens with Ozzy and Suri in the game, then you're at six and you have at least three people. There's something there. Rizzo also
Hmm.
really, to me, had the moment of the finale when he was weeping through tears, talking about how, how can he be so good and yet so bad? And he's the RICGOD Rizgod baby. And he's weeping and bawling. And that was so funny. And really, like, I just thought this was a really good, for back to back seasons, this was a really good finale for the Rizgod, I thought.
Yeah, Rizzo, I mean, he kind of disappeared in the middle
He
of the
did.
game, but he had a lot of the best moments this season. His rivalry with Charlie, and they've been making heated rivalry memes over
Mm-hmm.
that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really good. I really am so glad they had Rizzo on the season. I do think it may have been too soon for some other players who wound up going home early. I mean, just think if we don't have Savannah and Kyle, and we have Marianne
Oh,
and I
Andy?
don't know, Jesse,
Sure.
Andy, yeah, like then the whole season is very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to get into the screenwriting of it all?
Yeah, I mean, so part of what's interesting about Pages to Pixels is we do things from a scriptwriter's POV, but we've never covered reality television because, I mean, there are two types of reality TV shows. There's the Kardashians, which is scripted reality TV, and then there is shows like Survivor, Big Brother, which are all unscripted, but they tell a story kind of with the material that they're given. Um, with that said, like, what are the three main storylines that you saw in Survivor 50, and how do you think screenwriting like helped create them?
That's a great question. So I feel like the similarities that I see between screenwriting and something like this kind of reality TV is it's all about characters. When Jeff was doing his preseason press for 50, he mentioned that he was creating this cast as if he were making a movie. So you're not just getting good
Hmm.
players, you're getting good archetypes, you're getting characters that bounce off of each other, you're getting a variety of age, of background, of work ethic, so that people play off of each other. And to me, that feels very similar to when you're writing a script and you're just trying to make good characters. You start with the characters. And then if you were to simply plop them into a certain scenario, such as they're at the hospital, they're going to work, then these characters are so dynamic that they end up creating exciting moments just by virtue of running into each other. And I think that is how they approach reality TV. And that's also why these casts get knocked around a bunch because what people might want, what they might say they want is, 15 Jesse Lopez's on one cast, but that's not how a screenwriter would do it, for example. You would want a variety of dynamic characters. As far as the important narratives on the season, I think it's been consistent throughout the new era. There's a very important emotional theme, and I think to me that was the biggest one throughout the whole season was this
Hmm.
feeling of gratitude. Like we're doing this, we're here. It's $2 million. You saw that reflected in every single player, and I think they really drove it home that even by the end, Aubrey, somebody who seemed to be like the saddest player in those early stages and somebody who's really going through it, even she was happy and even she was joyful and full of gratitude. So that was a really big one for me. I think another
Because
one.
I'm a psycho.
She's a psycho. I think another one was also failure, which is the total flip side. But how many times this season did we hear people talk about why they wanted to come back? And it wasn't because they wanted to win. It was because they had something that was bugging them and that was in their mind the whole time that they wanted to rectify. Think about Winners at War. The last time we saw a full cast come back, nobody had that problem. They'd all won. They all already had this money, and they were just like, I'm going to have a good time. I feel good. And if anything, they left with those feelings. They got voted out and felt bad. Mm-hmm. But this time you had so many players that were very open about their failures last time and how they wanted to correct them. I mean, think about Christian voting out Mike White. It was because of their season together that he did that. So I think the kind of failure, almost a trauma, was a really big narrative as well. And you saw that in every episode. I'm dodging the question by only giving you two, but those to me were two really consistent narratives.
Fair. Yeah, I want to talk about the failure because I do think one of the biggest storylines this season was from Christian. He had easily the most confessionals per episode on average, I think.
Yeah.
Just because, and he also had like 4 episode titles, maybe more. I mean, the guy is just a great narrator. He belongs on TV. I'm so glad he came back. Failure felt like the big elephant in the room for him. I mean, he highlighted so much of what he did wrong that he corrected or maybe even overcorrected in getting rid of Angelina and Mike White pre-merge, who were his friends. He surrounds himself with people at the merge who find him to be a snake. And then he plays the Jimmy Kimmel Survivor puzzle and loses his vote and has to cast a vote for himself. It was kind of humiliating to watch play out. I think that was it's very interesting that throughout all of these moments where Christian is not getting his way and things are going wrong, that he ends it on the note of like talking to his son and being like, you're gonna fail, but you're gonna be amazing. Like, I took a lot away from that. What about you?
I did too. I think Christian is really, you said it. I mean, he's born to be on TV. He's just that good. The show loves people who are clear communicators. That's why they cast so many people who do podcasts like you. I mean, you've got a shot just doing this thing already. Like, it's a layup. Put that in the application, and they're going to be interested.
We might not be able to get on together now because they're like, okay, well, there's this episode.
Yeah, but they're going to have to throw in the twist where that's going to be some tether twist where we have to work against each other the whole season. That's what I'm thinking.
Secret Ally season would be so amazing.
It would be.
It's not just like blood versus water. Like there could be like a couple people, like a fraternal twin or something. But I do think eventually people would figure it out, like Big Brother, the exes.
Yes,
or like
yes.
Yeah.
I want to see them do the Big Brother twins twist. I want to see them try to swap somebody out every episode, every day, and see.
They're just living in a hut on an.
Yeah, and it's like, well, you didn't have that bruise on your knee yesterday, and it's like, oh, I fell in the jungle. Like, I want to see that play out. But for Christian, yeah, I mean, he's born to be on TV. He's so good. He's such a clear communicator, and he's also very vulnerable, which is, I think he got the most screen time this season, I think, because he was able to be the most dynamic character. I mean, think about all his comedic moments, but also all his moments where you're right, he was humiliated. I mean, time and time again. Mm-hmm. I remember how I felt, and I'm sure you do too, Kevin, when you saw him pull up on that boat to do that puzzle. And you said, it's a fucking logo puzzle. Oh, I'm sorry. But, like, it's a logo puzzle. No, he's got it. This is, do you remember who else raised their hand to go on that journey? It was Joe and Ozzy. Like, those guys had no chance. But Christian, I was like, he's got this. So when he didn't get it, he had to accept not just defeat, but a really personal defeat. This is my thing. I'm the puzzle guy, and I couldn't do this. So I think he was really willing to play ball with the show to let himself be so vulnerable. And in doing so, I think he kind of had the Rizzo mentality. Rizzo says, I
Hmm.
don't care what placement I am as long as I win. I think Christian, it didn't bother him that he went out as whatever, the third or fourth juror. I think he really did so much this season in the 9, 10 episodes that he really came away from it being the star, one of the stars of the show. And that's a win for him. And it's a win for the show that he was such a star for them also.
Speaking of stars, I think we have to talk about Suri and her legacy throughout this show. I mean, I think that Suri is kind of like the embodiment of all the legends that did play this season. I
Mm,
mean,
mm.
she started out on this tribe where she's getting targeted by the only player from Borneo, and then she's able to make it all the way back to Final Six, again, where she just comes up short. I mean, I really love Suri. This season, I think she was easily my favorite of everyone playing. I wanted so badly to believe that Suri could win Survivor. And I think going back to something you said earlier, her Ozzy Tiffany, I actually do think that could have resulted in a win. I mean, maybe they go to Rocks, maybe they vote for Joe, and then maybe Rizzo uses his idol on Joe. Something strange could have happened there. Um, but in all, I mean, do you think Suri's retiring season is narratively satisfying?
No, I don't. And I think it's because this was a season where a legend had to win. And a lot of the satisfying, a lot of the feeling of whether you're satisfied by the season is whether or not you think Aubrey's a
Hmm.
legend. Do you think Aubrey should be a winner? And if you do, if you thought she should have won Co-Wrong, if you thought that she got a rough deal on Edge of Extinction, this is a satisfying outcome. But inarguably, the most satisfying outcome was watching Suri win. And the fact that we got that close is what makes it so bittersweet. I think Suri is one of the best players of all time. And what I'm curious to ask you is, do you think you have to be a winner to be one of the best players of all time? A lot of people exclude Suri from the Mount Rushmore, this fantasy conversation about the best, because she hasn't won. But I don't think that that's a fair qualifier.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could easily debate that fourth slot between like you've got the Mount Rushmore, which I think most people will associate with Sandra, Boston Rob, Tony, and Parvati, and I do feel like that is like such a solid group of people. Um, but if we're only focusing on U.S. Survivor, I hate to say it, Parvati kind of sticks out because she had this like lovely win. Okay, well, looking at everyone else, there's two-time winners. That is almost a lock. And Boston Rob is like the face of the show. He is the survive like he is name dropped in Third Rock from the Sun. Like he is name dropped anywhere. Parvati is very well known, I think, especially in Survivor. I don't think she has that sort of like moniker apart from winning Australian Survivor, whereas Suri has played, made it far, been beloved. I don't think you have to win to be the best player, um, but I do think Aubrey like is a legend. Do I think she should go on the Mount Rushmore? Aubrey? No. Do I think Suri or Parvati are debatable? Yes.
It's a great point because I feel like I don't like to get into the statistics. I have recently been
Hmm.
getting into baseball more, and people love to talk about numbers. I mean, it's numbers, 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 but it's such a raw and emotional performance. It really is just for me about watching people give it their best. And I feel the same way about these survivor things. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter if you've won once or won twice. How good of a player are you? How many seasons have you given us of that kind of quality? I think to rebut you for a moment, what does make Parvati so good is that she also has that heroes versus villains. I mean, she comes up so
Hmm.
short of a win, and she's so domineering in that season. She's so iconic in that season. That season is her. It's Sandra, but Sandra
Yeah.
was the Aubrey of 50. I mean, Sandra was the person where they said, "How did she
Yeah.
win?" And Sandra has since cemented that, and she's justified her win. But Parvati still, almost to many, feels like a two-time winner or the 1.5 winner for Heroes versus Villains. Now, what I'm curious about though is I do think Suri's legacy changes a little bit for the better from 50, which
Hmm.
is she went to pre-merge tribals. again and again and again. That didn't happen on Game Changers. And there's a world where you could look at Game
Yeah.
Changers. She won out until the merge, and you could say that part of her game was never tested. She wasn't challenged until there were already all these bigger fish to fry. But she went to the
Hmm.
first two tribal councils. I believe she also voted out. I think she voted out Charlie.
Charlie.
So that to
Yes.
me further solidifies, yes, she is that good, and there's no doubts about it. I think if you loved Suri, you're only given more reason to love Suri, and if you were on the fence, this pushes you further to liking her. So, is it a win? No. Is it satisfying? No. But this was a really good season for Suri, and she's a huge reason why the season was so good.
And one last follow up on the Mount Rushmore debate. Something interesting you said, like if this was really heroes versus villains was really Parvati's season, and Sandra is like the Aubrey. A lot of people have also made comparisons to Game Changers, where it's like Aubrey is like Sarah sitting next to Brad and Troyzan, who are like very like the tiers of Brad and Troyzan and Sarah are like very like at that time we're like babies basically the same. And then Sarah comes back, Winners at War. She's kind of solidified, or sorry, Lucina has solidified
Lucina.
a legend status with her Rubik's Cube. Um, but like, is Sarah debated as a Mount Rushmore contender? Even if she won Winners at War, I don't know. Like, would that happen? I think it is all a popularity contest, and I think Cerise still beats out Sarah.
And what do all those Mount Rushmore people have in common? Phenomenal charisma. So if it's a popularity
Yeah.
contest, you are looking at people who would draw attention. If they're ordering a coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, they're going to stand out. So
Mm-hmm.
these are just people who in any kind of contest are going to stand out. And you're right, that's really what these games are about. That's why we like them so much. A lot of times when people will say, "Oh, apply to these shows, you could do this. Jeff says you could do this." I think you're going on a show to be professionally charming. That's what Survivor is, more than anything else. You are professionally being funny, attractive, charming, just like an actor would. And that's a really goddamn hard thing to do. And I think really that's what makes a Hall of Famer. Are you one of the best at schmoozing? And Surie's one of the best.
You had to save one person from their elimination where they went home. Who do you save, and what do you think happens to them after that? And also, who do you send home at that vote?
I think a real turning point for me was Charlie and Rizzo. I think that
Mm-hmm.
was a straight down the line 4-3 where it seemed like a massive flip. I mean, you had people who were voting against their original tribe, Dee and Camilla, who had been working with Charlie the whole game and had only swapped a day or two ago and are now voting him out. It also turned Jonathan against Dee and Camilla and immediately sent them home. I think if Rizzo goes home,
Mm-hmm.
you see Suri having a worse game. You see Ozzy having a worse game. You see the power turning more to Dee and Camilla. I think the Blood Moon is different. I think that early merge is different. I think that Coach Chrissy Stephanie alliance goes home even sooner. I think that they might be.
Yeah.
I think that having Jonathan in that alliance with Joe, Coach Chrissy, and having him so against Camilla and Dee really set them up bad and made it so that they had no chance. But I think if they don't ruffle the feathers and they vote out Rizzo and they get rid of that idol, everything is different.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what Charlie would have done. If Charlie stays in, I don't know how he would have done. I think he had a huge target on his back no matter what. What would you say?
Just to follow up on that, it's interesting because Camilla had said in her exit interview she wanted Jonathan out at that tribal council, but they pushed back against her. I think Jonathan going there actually probably helps Sari even more
Yeah.
and helps that Dee and Camilla Tiffany alliance even more. And I think that they just form maybe the next Black Widow brigade
Yeah.
if they're all together at the merge and not separated. If I had to pick one person to save, I've got to go with Genevieve. I'm saying she hits a shot in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Aubrey uses her idol, and then Rick and it was what, Rick, Christian, and Joe are there, and I think Joe goes home
Yeah.
because they had the majority against Joe. Even Genevieve was like, Joe should just go home. He's gonna take up the goat spot. And then we get Genevieve still in the game with her old school alliance, and there might be like a war that sparks. And there's a lot of people in the middle, and you don't know. I would have loved to see where people would have drawn their lines in the sand. And plus, we get Genevieve on the jury, so.
That's a great point. I think Genevieve, my biggest worry about Genevieve going out when she did is that it soured her on playing Survivor again. I really hope she does. I think she's so much fun. She's Canadian like I am, and she's from a province that doesn't get a lot of representation. We're talking about Manitoba, and I would just love to see her back. But my worry is that she wouldn't want to
Hmm.
because she got such a raw deal. I mean, we can talk about the Billie Eilish of it all because that was maybe the biggest dud of all the celebrity twists. There was no payoff for that. And yeah, just it was really tough to see her go. So that's a great answer. Camilla also, now that I
Yeah,
think
I
about it,
agree.
Camilla would have changed the season, but I don't think there's a world where she doesn't go home there. I think she was pretty tied up no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, she was just on a tribe with a group that had a pregame alliance that doesn't want to admit that they had a pregame alliance for whatever reason. I don't know why they don't want to, but c'est la vie.
Some people were pretty
The Billie
transparent
Eilish
about that.
Boomerang Idol and all of the celebrity. Yeah, I mean, even Q. I mean, Stephanie was like, Q messages me, Happy Mother's Day, and of it all. I mean, a lot of them kind of didn't matter at the end of the day. They just kind of amplified what was not working, right? Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol probably has the biggest flop effect. And I mean, just think about how the season works with normal idols. I mean, Genevieve has two idols, and Christian has an idol. These are two clear production favorites, and you're making them give them away. I just really question why that twist. Especially, why did Billie Eilish think that that was the twist that needed to come in? I'm sure there were other things on that slip of paper that she was given that she could have chosen. I think she just chose Boomerang because it sounded funny.
I think so too. Yeah, it's unfortunate that it didn't get the outcome you wanted with. I think of it as the BB, the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol. Um, but
Hmm.
I think that what I wonder is just how effective was this at getting new people to watch the show? Having Christian on the Jimmy Kimmel show after he got voted off, having Zach Brown on the show. I wonder if it really had an effect on boosting the ratings because this was a big season. This was a celebrity season. This was an all-star season. They want to build up some hype going forward, and I just wonder how effective was it really at getting that sort of stuff done. I didn't mind the Zach Brown actually much at all. I know he got a lot of confessionals, but these are 90-minute episodes. We have a whole season. If he wants to just give some people some fish, it's not getting in the way of the game like it is were Zach Brown to show up. What if Zach Brown said, "Hey guys, my favorite thing in the world is voting people out. We're going to vote out 6 people in one episode." And then they just lined him up and shot him down. I mean, that could have happened. But no, he just said, "I want to get you guys some fish." And that was it. So I thought the celebrity twists ended up being okay. You mentioned that, oh, these things hurt production favorites. I think everybody this season was a production favorite. And no matter who these twists hurt, it would have been somebody who some fan or some member of the team would have been upset to lose. Like if it wasn't Genevieve, it could have been Devins going home with the blood moon, or it could have been
Hmm.
somebody. So that's the downside of the all-star season, and they edit around it so that somebody doesn't get a very good edit. You're not as upset to see them go, but no matter what, all these twists were going to hurt somebody. I just wish that they had less of the showmanship bravado twists so that when these people did get voted out, we could just blame the players and we didn't have to blame these things that they were
Yeah.
bringing in. I'd rather get upset about coach got him or this person took him out instead of saying, they threw in another boomerang idol or they threw. For example, one thing that continually slipped my mind about the Boomerang Idol was that you could only play it on yourself. And I thought that really got in the way of the gameplay time and time again. And I just thought, what a
Yeah.
silly thing to do for a big season like this. So I wonder how many of these twists they're going to be using for the next season. And I would love to talk about the next season soon if we get a chance.
Yeah, Survivor 51, a season that is okay, well they're deeming this the open era, um, which is very interesting off the new era because the new era kind of had this identity of we're gonna do new things, we're gonna try out some stuff, and we're gonna try to have fun. The open era seems like it's just like anything can happen anytime, and it will. And they're saying that in 51, all twists that they've ever done in Survivor are in play, up for grabs. Do you think we're seeing the Medallion of Power? Do you
No,
think we're seeing the bottle twist? Do you
no,
think we're seeing those
no.
things?
Kevin, I'm on Family Feud right now. You're Steve Harvey. And I'm giving you this. I'm giving you the. No, it's not happening. What I think they mean is that they want the players to feel like anything could happen. I don't think literally everything is
Yeah.
on the table, but what I do think they want is they tested 50. 50 was like an ant farm where they were throwing in little pieces of this and that, and what they realized was we can do larger casts. We can do 24 players in 26 days. Now, I think it's 20 or 21. So you have to imagine you're
Hmm.
going to see some duo twists, some more triple tribals, double tribals. You're going to see them playing with the format more. I think that's what they're getting at with the open era. Is just like, look,
Yeah.
things are going to be different and the format will be different season to season. And I'm excited about that.
I totally agree with that. I think that they are going to just try to strike fear into the players. They want unpredictability to be at the top of mind. I have a couple of fears. The first is that that stifles some gameplay because oh well, there could be a twist that takes me out tomorrow. I need to just vote with the majority because I need to survive, and then there's less risks.
Yeah.
Sure, there could be an underdog that gets the idol, but if the majority gets that idol or that twist, then the majority just steamrolls and you've got a boring season. Um, but on the other hand, we have Tribes of Two again, which is fantastic for setting up a lot of dynamics because there's a lot more betrayals in a 10-person tribe than there is a 6-person tribe. Um, so I think that was a smart decision. I'm glad that they're going to that. Um, the other thing that I have a fear about is just the 26 days of it all.
Mm-hmm.
26 days, if it were like 30 or 32, I might have less fears. But 26 has still felt very small in scale. And I wish that they would almost just increase it just a little bit. Or if you've got 26 days, film 3 seasons in a year. Because that's 26 days across the board for 3 seasons when you add the two incomplete when you add the missing days from 39 you
Yep.
actually get 26.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's really surprising they haven't done that because you could do 51, 52, 53, and one of those seasons could be a surprise returnee season, and then it's like okay, two newbies, one returnee or special season that involves something. uh I think they could play around with that a lot, and they're taking advantage of it in a different way. So I'm open to the new era, to the open era, but I'm very scared. I think we all have a right to be.
That's a great point. Well, remember how much Jeff talked about the monster in 41? He was always saying that, this game is really like
43.
in 43. He was like, there's this thing that's around the corner and you don't know what it's going to. I think this is the culmination of that ideology is you don't know what's going to happen. And
Hmm.
what I worry and honestly what I didn't like about 50 was that every episode felt like its own story. Every episode, these 90 minutes, it was a new twist, it was a new challenge, and very few of the themes in the terms of relationships were continuous from episode to episode. It was a completely new thing. And I think that they could take that to the hill and make every episode of 51 a completely different story because the game is going to change you could start with Two Tribes of Ten, but then by episode 2 there's a swap, or episode 2 there's this. I think it's so funny, just as a general observation, how much, despite the American survivors like real ambivalence to Australian Survivor, they don't mention it, they don't talk about it, they don't like it when their stars go over there. They're only becoming more like Australian Survivor. I mean, we just saw 24 people. We're seeing bigger episodes. We're seeing chaotic twists. I wouldn't be surprised if they take some twists from Down Under. Something like, swapping one person to another tribe for 2 episodes.
Redemption Rock.
Redemption Rock. Doing whatever.
Dead Man Walking.
Something like that. But really, I don't want to be a doomer because all of this is more exciting than 3 Tribes of 6 and Mergatory for the 8th time over. So I really think we're going to be in a good place.
Yeah. I think unpredictability is what the show needs, because we spent 9 years of 3 Tribes of 6 and the same colors, the same challenges, some of the same casting archetypes. In this upcoming season, there's still some of those flavors mixed in, but I think there's also a lot of other new flavors that I'm excited to try. I'm excited for. And yeah, just the last question is, what for the new era, what is your overall thoughts? Do you think this was a successful project for the show to take on?
I do. I really believe it was successful. And I think that for 2 reasons. Number one, they had to do something different after COVID. They had this new viewership come in, things had to change. And they kind of, although it didn't seem that way at first, I mean, we remember what it was like to go through 41 with all these ridiculous twists. They really did bring it back to basics. They brought it back to, I remember in Survivor 43, the opening monologue had Jeff talking about that, the fact that these people are building their own society. Like, that's language he hasn't used in a very long time. So I think psychologically, the show went back to a quite early stage, and they really reinvented what Survivor was. For the better or for the worse, it became a different show. It makes it very hard to compare to older seasons. And through making it a different show, they got a more loyal fan base, a new fan base, and maybe most importantly, a really big crop of players. So many people. So many alumni who are on the show love the show. I mean, these alumni. They talk about the show all the time. They're always on Instagram, Twitter, wherever, dying to play again. So if they ever want to do a returning player season, they have 300 people they could call right now. I think that's a success, and I think the show must be really happy about where they're standing. What do you think?
I agree, and one of those 300 people is going to be Sarah Wade.
Yes. Yeah. It was all about her grandma, remember? No, Sarah Wade was the one on Tika, right?
That's Sarah Wilson.
Sarah Wilson. Sorry.
Yeah, the new era Sarah.
This invalidated everything I said because I forgot about Sarah Wade. So
I'm sure many people don't know who we're referencing either.
You think her advantage is going to come back?
I agree.
The inheritance advantage.
Yes, I do think that will come back, because it didn't do anything, but I think that they want it back. I think my predictions, my 3 predictions for what will be back is the Idol Nullifier, Knowledge is Power, and I think that the opening twist, which will exile someone from Fiji, will come back.
Oh.
And the 3 that I think are not on are Medallion of Power, Hourglass, and I don't think there's going to be a returning element, like Edge of Extinction, Redemption Island. I don't.
And no Do or Die. We're not bringing that back. Pretty please.
Oh, I hope not. I hate Do or Die more than the Hourglass. And I know that the Hourglass is unfair, but Do or Die is just so frustrating. I don't want to see people... Please, I do not want to see anyone eliminated unless it is by a vote-off, a medevac. I don't want to see anyone medevaced. Or you quit the game. I only care about those 3. If you leave the game that way, all is fair.
How would Rick Devens have gone home if the coin didn't work? How would they have done that? He just would have gotten snuffed right away?
So, Rick, you flipped the coin and you said the wrong thing. And then Mr. Beast would be like, sorry. And then he's like, what is your legacy? It's like, I look up at the star. He would just say the same thing he said. and then he would grab his torch, and then there would be tears, and who knows, maybe Rick wins the Sea of Money instead of
Maybe.
Shireen.
You're
We'll
right. You're
see.
so right, though. They'd treat it like fire making, where they'd sit him back down to talk to him for 5 more minutes, and they'd say, "Wrap the
Hmm.
put a bow on this for us," or something. On the topic of twists, I forgot until just this moment, and you brought it up for me. I loved that Exile Island came back this season. I thought that was really fun, and I thought it was really good. Like, we saw it in the premiere, we saw it when Suri went and did her coconuts. I just loved that anybody could just be whisked away to Exile Island for 20 minutes,
Hmm.
and I really thought that was fun. So I like that the open era could also mean they're bringing back some of these vintage twists that we haven't seen in a minute.
Exile Island is a very great twist, and I'm shocked that it was not utilized so much in the new era when you have all these journeys.
Yeah,
You want to talk about people losing your vote, losing valuable camp time and being on an island alone is soul sucking.
yeah.
Like it does a lot. It makes the game harder.
Hmm.
Um, it can screw people over, but good players take advantage of it. So I would like to see it return. I also would be open to Ghost Island. I mean, it's
Mm.
just Exile Island but with fun trinkets. Just maybe play around with the urn twist. That was not so
They have to play
successful.
every time.
I think they could, if they made it only you play like one time and Ghost Island's only like it just appears and then it's gone,
Mm.
and then maybe they do Island of the Idols one time and then it's like they have statues of
Gabler?
Tony and Parvati.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Gabler and Kenzie.
Kenzie, I would love to see. Wouldn't you love to see them in tribal council together in a little booth?
It's like Gabler would be like, I told him to play that idol, and she'll be like, yes, you did.
Kids will go, damn it! She'll be slapping her knee. God damn it! It'll be cute.
uh, um, all right. So, on this channel, we like to rate things on the script coverage scale. Now, technically, we don't have a script to work with, but this is like a rating system of sorts. It's not a actual recommendation, and the way that it works is, you would say pass if you think that season 50 was bad. Uh, consider, which means that you thought it was just okay, and then recommend, which is you enjoyed the season, you loved it. So on the script coverage scale, where does Survivor 50 rank for you?
I think it's a consider. I think there's a lot of good this season. I think there's a lot of human moments this season. And I think there's a lot of things that, like, ironically, are hard to script. A lot of really fun, spontaneous character moments from this season. But it wasn't good enough
Mm-hmm.
because ultimately it just wasn't that satisfying. I don't think that we had that many narratives that we saw play out until the very end. I think about halfway through, it kind of became a different show than it was at the beginning. And that to me makes it very difficult to tie together. But it's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot to like here, and there's a lot to enjoy. And almost because it was so episodic, because things were reshuffled so often, there are a lot of great episodes that have great scripts, front to back, 90-minute great episodes, and that's enough for me to consider.
For me, I understand that take. I mean, consider like rating it as a middle of the road season among other Survivor seasons. Like it probably falls like dead center for me,
Hmm.
in the overall scheme of the show because it's like it's so twist heavy and crazy, and there's some editing issues that need to be addressed. But then there's just so many front loaded, amazing. I think in a few years these will be iconic, memorable moments. I think people will remember the fight and the drive and the hype, um, and the fun and the
Hmm.
laughter. Like Colby said, just and like find the joy in the game, and that's what I did. So for me, I'm giving Survivor 50 a recommend because Survivor is like pizza. Um, it's it's always gonna taste good. Doesn't matter how good, however many times you have it. But I understand. But in the grand scheme of all of Survivor, I think I agree with your opinion that it's a good season. It has some flaws, but I mean, I would take say season 50 with all of its flaws than no season 50 at all.
100%. And you know what? That's why you're a fan. Right there. Is you really love the show.
Exactly. Why don't you close out the episode with a Maxism, like Coach would say uh, in his exit on the show.
Well, I just think that, we're very lucky. We're very lucky to get a show that runs on for 25 years, 26 years, and we're very lucky to get to be able to be fans of this thing. Sometimes when your fan is fleeting, you enjoy a moment or you appreciate something, but it's here and then it's gone. It's passes you by. You have a great night with your friends or you have a really good job, but then it falls apart. But there's a stability in loving Survivor where you know not just that it's going to be on the air, but you know when it's going to be on the air and you know that it's going to be back. And that stability is what keeps so many of us coming back. And it's what keeps so many of us
Mhm.
really tied to the show in a very sincere emotional way. That's why I love the show. That's why I think you love the show, and it makes me proud to be a fan of Survivor. Even when people groan, it makes me proud to be a fan. So I appreciate that we got to watch 50. I appreciate that they made 50, and I appreciate you having me on the show. This was a lot of fun.
Very well said, Max. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a real pleasure. Um, yeah, and I totally agree. This is why Survivor is my favorite show. What's yours? Did you watch Survivor 50? Did you enjoy it? Let us know in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Kevin, and that is Max, and we will see you next time to cover another show or movie that does not involve uh, describing the total package.
No Mark Burnett.
Yeah, no Mark. All right. Thank you.